Okay, so tonight's homework is going to be section 6.4, divide fractions and whole numbers. So we're going to have both a whole number divided by a fraction and a fractional part divided by a whole number. And so this is a review of what we have been covering and in preparation for quiz time. So let's take a look at the first one. We did this first one in class together where we said we had 4 whole parts, and here you can see, I'm going to use my highlighters so you can see it a lot better. Here we have 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, and 4 parts. And so you can see it's kind of a little difficult, but still. And you know how when we used, we said that we were using benchmarks, right? So if we're going to take one part of the whole, so we have 1 of the 4 parts, and we're going to divide those into 4 parts. Here we're going to have, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 here. So if I have 4 here, 4 total equal parts, I divide it here, then I'm going to take my 1 whole and divide those into 4 equal parts, divide those into 4 equal parts. And so my total amount that I have is 4, 4, 4, and 4 equals 16 because, and remember we talked about the fact family. So if we have 16 times 1/4 equals 4, I'm going to write it out here. It's going to be 16 over 1 over 1 by 1/4 equals 16 times 1 and 1 times 4, 16 over 4. And how many groups of 4 go into 16? 4 equally. And so I know that my answer is correct. And I've checked my work. Again, it's using the fact family. So let's look at number 2. Number 2, I have 2 holes. So I have 1 hole and 2 holes on the number line. And on my number line, I said I needed to divide that by 1/6. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have 6 parts. That's 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts, 6 parts. And then how many total equal parts will I have? Well, let me continue. If there's 6 here, how many will be here? Absolutely. There's going to be 6. So I'll count that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I have a total of 6. So 6 plus the 6 equals 12. Now let me check to see if that's correct. Because 12 times 1/6 equals 2. Again, I need to put my 12 over 1, and so it would look like this. 12 times 1 equals 12. 1 times 6 equals 6. 2 groups will go into 12 evenly, and so my answer is correct. Okay, again, it's the fact family. Moving to number 3. Here, I'm starting off with a fraction. And again, let's look at up here. We said if we start with a whole number, our answer is going to end in a whole number. And this set is true. If I start it with a whole number, my answer is going to end in a whole number. So my quotient will be a whole number. So my dividend is a whole number as well as my quotient. Now, my dividend is now going to only be 1/3 because that's all I have. And this number here is going to represent my dividend. Again, like we talked about in class today, and using our bread, we only have 1/3. And then it said that we needed to divide my 1/3 into 2 parts. Now, as you can see, we split that. What we've been doing is just splitting it, but I kind of like this as well. So those of you that are still having a difficult time with the concept, you can just draw another third and split that in half. And now you can see that this would be equal to 1/6 because if I continued here and here, I have my 3 parts. If I bring that here and I bring it here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, this would be 1/6, 1/6, 1/6, and 1/6, which means I have a total of 6 over 6, which is also equivalent to 1 whole. So now, 1/3 divided by 2 is equal to, because all we're doing is looking at how much this one would be. So it's equivalent to 1/6. And I know this because, and I'm going to reverse, look what I'm doing. Remember, I'm going to do the inverse. Inverse means, I'm going to write this out here. Inverse means, that's right, I can hear y'all shouting that out right now, opposite. So I'm working myself backwards. So 1/6, I'm doing the opposite times 2. Again, let me show you up here. If I did 1/6 times 2, remember, in order to make that 2 a whole, I know I'm going to put that over 1 because 1 goes into 2 times and still leaving me my 2 wholes. Working it across this way, 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 1 is 6. They're both even numbers, so I can split them equally in half. I know that 2 goes into 2 1 time, 2 goes into 6 3 times, or half of 2 is 1, half of 6 is 3. And so I had my And so did I end up here as the same as here? So my answer is correct at 1/6 because I originally started off with my 1/3. Okay, so I know my answer is right. Because if I had 1/6 twice, it will be equivalent to 1/3. All right, we're moving on to number 4. And let's take a look. Again, look at what I'm starting off. My dividend is what? Absolutely, it's a whole number. So I'm going to write whole number here, or whole. And then what would my answer then end at? That's right. So I'm going to write whole. So it's going to end up with a whole number. So I'm representing on a number line 3 wholes. Here's my 1, my 2, my 3. It said that I needed to divide it into fifths. So I needed to have 5 equal parts here, 5 equal parts here, and 5 equal parts here. Because what dictates how many equal parts I'm going to have? That's right, my denominator. My denominator is going to tell me exactly how many total equal parts I'll have. So here I have 1 equal, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there's 5 equal parts here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have 5 equal parts here. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 equal parts here. Okay, I heard somebody that said, or was asking the question, can I just count them all the way up to I get to 15? Absolutely. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, continue 6 through 10, and continue 11 through 15, and that will work as well. I put the dashes, so those of you that are easier with just shading in, you can do that. Those of you that find it easier to count groups together and then add them up, that's fine too. And for those of you that want to count consecutively, that's okay as well. So now I'm looking at 5, 10, 15. So if I took 3 and divided those all into 1/5 equal parts, into 5 equal parts, I'm going to have a total of 15 equal parts, because 15 times 1/5 will equal 3. So now to prove that, I put this over 1, draw it together. 15 times 1 equals 15. 1 times 5 equals 5. 5, how many groups of 5 go into 15? That's a 5. It'll kind of look like something else. I don't know, like a 6, let's guess it. So now 3 groups of 5 go into 15 equally. And so I know that my answer is correct here as well as in here because they balance each other. Okay, let's go to number 5. And remember, at any time that you are confused, simply pause it, replay that portion, pause it again to process the information so that you completely understand. The whole thing about the homework is that you understand the whole concept that we have been going over in class, and that you're able to prove to yourself that you are completely understanding the models. Okay, because on the back page, we're going to show you why. All right, so now I have 1/5. I'm starting off with a unit fraction. So this is a fraction. Therefore, my answer will end up in that's right, it's going to end up in a fraction. So it says I only have 1/5. Use it just like we did with the bread. I had 1/5 of the bread. I needed to divide that into 2 equal parts. Again, if I wanted to continue on, so each part will then represent 1/10. I can continue that on 1, 2. I can continue that because that would be cut in half, and this would be cut in half, and this would be cut in half, and this would be cut in half. So I'd end up having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 equal parts. So each one is valued at 10 parts. Because, now again, I'm going to work with my inverse, going backwards. 1/10 times 2 equals 1/5. To prove that, 2 over 1 to make the whole number into a fraction. Yep, 2 over 1. I'm going to draw my arrow to know that I'm going to multiply across. 1 times 2 equals 2. 10 times 1 equals 10, which is also equivalent to 1/5. Okay? Easy peasy, right? So when you have a quiz tomorrow, it's not going to be a big deal. You're going to actually be able to do it. And we're having an easy quiz because it's going to be just the bridging to start, where we do one together, you're going to do one with a partner, and you'll also do one independently, and then a few additional questions. All right, Julie buys a board that is 6 feet long. She wants to cut into pieces that are 1/2 foot each. So how many pieces will Julie have after she cuts the board? All right, let me write out what I'm going to do. Julie buys a board. So she has a board. She's starting off that's 6 feet long. So she has a board that is 6 feet. I'm going to draw this little line above. That represents feet. Okay, she's already starting off with a board that's 6 feet. I'm going to go to another sheet of notebook paper because I know I'm not going to have enough room as I show my diagram. So I'm going to put number 6, and I'm going to have my 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot. I can continue on for 6 feet, but I'm going to show 4, 5, and now 6 feet. So this is going to represent 6 feet. I know, again, I could have had it extended across. I could have showing here, and I could have sliced it up. That's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, and 6 foot. I could have done that. If that's the way that helps you think better, then you can do it. I'm okay showing that this is feet as well. So which one, I'm going to put or. So whichever works best for your thinking. Now, let's finish up the rest of it. She wants to cut it into pieces that are 1/2 foot each. So, cut. What is another word for cut? Yeah, absolutely. It's divide. So she wants to divide it into 1/2 foot pieces each. 1/2 foot each. Now my question is how many pieces will Julie have after she cuts the board? So I'm going to make that into a statement where Julie has blank pieces after she cuts the board. Okay? So I'm going to take so now I know it's going to be, what will be my equation? What are we going to use? What operation? Yes, divide. Absolutely. So I'm going to divide. Again, what is my equation? What am I starting off with? What is my dividend? What is the total amount that I have? Yes, I'm starting off with 6 feet. So that's my dividend. That's my first number. And I need to divide it or slice it up into halves. So there's my equation. Now I drew my 6 boxes, and now I'm going to